Hi, President-elect Trump. My name is Sean Marinko. I've had cerebral palsy since birth, and I use a wheelchair. I live in Olympia, Washington with my beautiful family. Rebecca, my wife, and our two daughters, Grace, age 13, and Claire Joy, age 5. I want to let you know something from the very beginning. I didn't vote for you. And I hope that fact doesn't stop you from listening to what I have to say. The truth is, just because I didn't cast my ballot in your favor doesn't mean I don't want you to be successful. In fact, the opposite is true. One of the things that this election taught us is that America, while perhaps divided, is still very passionate about a variety of issues. Whether it was immigration or gun control, Americans from all over had many things to say. One of the things that I was hoping we would hear more from your campaign is your plan to weave people with disabilities into your campaign promise to make America great again. President-elect Trump, at the risk of sounding egotistical, if you were to meet me, you'd like me a lot. I grew up in Eastern Washington, and my dad spent much of his time under sinks working as a plumber. He taught me that just because I had a disability didn't mean that I should not pursue my hopes and my dreams. I'm part of that proud generation of people with disabilities who back then were called mainstreamed. I was in a class where there were no other students in wheelchairs, and honestly, there were times where students weren't very nice to me. I took those experiences, went off to college, got a political science degree, which I later learned was pretty worthless, and then I decided to go to law school. I went to law school with this image in mind. When I was in 5th grade, I told my parents that I wanted to learn to play the drums. And again, as I said earlier, my parents never wanted my disabilities to stop me. So I went to class the first day with that snare drum in hand, only to find stairs to get up to the band class. And this was before the passage of the Americans with Disabilities Act in 1990. The band teacher didn't quite know what to do. He called the principal, and they decided to do what they could do then, and they carried me up the stairs so that I could join the class. It did give me up those stairs, but what it didn't do is preserve my dignity so that I could get up and join my fellow classmates and learn to play the drum. So I went to law school. I went to Gonzaga. I graduated, and I decided that a career in public service would be my calling. It took approximately 1.5 years before I could get a full-time job, even though I graduated law school, passed the bar. I often said to myself, I'd followed all the rules. I had done what I needed to do to become successful. Eventually, I was hired to work in state government, and I've proudly done so for the past 10 years. However, in order for me to continue to provide for my family, I need to have extensive personal care to help me with virtually every aspect of my activities for daily living. In essence, if there isn't somebody to get me up out of bed in the morning, I don't go to work. My kids don't get to eat. My kids don't get clothes. Nothing. I'm paying taxes, President-elect Trump, and I'm giving my kids the best possible life they can get. There are many proposals that are going out there with regard to what you may or may not do with Medicaid, what Congress may or may not do with Medicaid. And admittedly, I'm not an economist. I don't know what the numbers mean. So when folks say you're going to give a block grant to states to provide Medicaid, I don't really know what that means. But I do know that cuts to Medicaid will not afford me the opportunity to provide for my family. It will put me on the margins. In fact, even as I share this video with you this evening, there are scores, countless people with disabilities living in nursing homes when they could be out in the community. In spite of a U.S. Supreme Court ruling called Olmstead that required people with disabilities live in the least restrictive environments in their community. This kind of segregation isn't reflective of the kind of America that we fought so hard to build. And frankly, President-elect Trump, I don't think it's the kind of America that you want to build. I'm asking for your help. I'm asking simply, sir, that you understand that Medicaid is more than just serving the poor. It's giving a lifeline to those who are pursuing their dreams. I also want you to remember that your party is the party that under Gerald Ford passed the Rehabilitation Act, that under President H.W. Bush, the Americans with Disabilities Act was passed, the first comprehensive civil rights legislation of its kind in the whole entire world. And President George W. Bush passed the ADA Amendments Act, signed into law the ADA Amendments Act, which strengthened even further the promises of the original ADA. You also have numerous leaders in your party, like Representative Kathy McMorris Rogers of my home district in Spokane, Washington, who has fought tirelessly for people with disabilities and has worked hard to make the ABLE Act come to life in state legislatures across the country. I would encourage you to tap in to those leaders within your own party to come up with common sense solutions. The solution doesn't include dismantling Medicaid. It includes reforming Medicaid so that dreams can come true. And in that, America will be great. Thank you for listening, and I wish you all the best. Good night.